Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 The Howl. So it's over. The Rookie Faceoff in LA is finally over. Utah had games Friday night, Saturday night, and just finished up Monday afternoon. They go one win, two regulation losses. Their one win came in overtime against the LA Kings on Saturday. If you feel left out, feel like you missed a great tournament, probably not the case. The production value was way down in the dumps, as it pretty much always is. It was about a 480p experience, a GoPro behind a mesh. You had to watch these games through a mesh with no zoom in technology in 2024, no Utah home broadcast either, and no shot clock. So, really, you had to really pay attention, figure out who's on the ice with who. It was really hard to like take notes and be like, okay, this is the lineups. These are the four forward lines, the defensive pairings. What are their shots? Keeping track of that. Who's getting outplayed more? Who's got more shots on net? It's usually not that hard. Usually you have a lot of graphics, and the announcers are biased towards the team you cheer for, so they'll keep saying things you want to hear. They'll bring up interesting stats. But this one, going in blind, doing it all myself, and I'm glad I watched the games. It's a bit misleading that this is the rookie face-off. It's your team rookies against the other team rookies. It's pretty much only CHL, AHL, and ECHL players. When I say the CHL, it's the Canadian Hockey League, which encompasses the Western Hockey League, the Ontario Hockey League, and the Quebec Hockey League. Players under contract with the NCAA, they're not allowed to play in this tournament. Players in the KHL, their season already started, so they're not coming overseas to play in a rookie tournament. And same goes with European leagues as Sweden, Finland, Czechia, Slovakia, Switzerland, whatever country you hail from. So a lot of Utah's top prospects were in this tournament. They were restricted from playing. Daniel Boot, Dmitry Simishev, Michael Hurabal, Castagna, some European and Swedish players. And then Friday morning, it was announced Iginla was injured and not playing in this tournament. He's being held out for precautionary reasons. And then they had Maximilian Zuber and Terrell Goldsmith on the rookie roster, but they didn't play any of the games. I didn't even think they made the trip out to LA. No one's reporting why. It's a bit of an awkward moment for Utah. Like, there's no reporter like keeping things on the ball and being like me. Like, okay, you had Zuber and Goldsmith on your roster and they're not playing. Is anyone going to ask questions why? But it is what it is. Try to have fun with it. It's good to watch hockey. So at the end of the day, I'm glad I watched all three games. The San Jose game, Utah massively outplayed. I think Thornton made like 40 saves, probably faced around 43, 44, 45 shots against. The whole game was in Utah's end. The fact that they came out only losing that game by one goal is pretty much a miracle. Thornton stood on his head. He even got injured at one point in the game. And then in the Los Angeles game, it was more evenly matched. The Sharks in the first game, they had guys like Celebrini, Will Smith, Sam Dickinson, this guy called Musty, who's pretty good. A lot of skill, and Utah plays that more simple, aggressive forecheck, simple, hardworking hockey that didn't really mesh well with San Jose. But with the LA game, it was a perfectly evenly matched matchup. Utah was in the lead and in control for most of that game. They were up 3-1, and then 2 minutes left in the third period. LA scores two goals with a goalie pulled. They go into overtime, and Owen Allard walks in and just takes a slapper. It was pretty much an EA Sports NHL goal that you do in a video game. You just enter the slot, wind up, and take a slapper, top cheddar. And then most recently, a 5-3 loss against Vegas. Utah fell behind 3-0 in the first period. A couple lucky tips. Two of their three goals were tip-in goals. And then Utah had a really good second period. They were barely in Vegas' zone the whole first period, but in the second period, they started to have some sustained pressure, drawing some penalties. They clawed their way back to tie it up 3-3. But unfortunately, Vegas scored that fourth goal in the middle of the third period. And and then empty net goal to make it 5-3. So pretty much all 3 games were 1-goal games, which I like considering that Utah had no real offensive flair skill guys in the lineup. Some of the players I really liked watching, Baudouin, the first line center, so noticeable. It's so obvious who's a first round pick in these tournaments. Even second rounders are pretty evident of their skill level. But Baudouin, just a horse, hustles, skates hard, so aggressive on the forecheck, always around the crease, around the net. He scored 1 goal against Vegas. His goal was coming out behind the net, in tight at the side of the net, and roofing it short side on a goalie, over the goalie's shoulder. Lamoureux, honestly, I could see him playing some games for Utah this season. I know he's slated to play for Tucson, but he looks like an NHLer out there. He's tall. His reach is so long. It's so unique. And the fact that they got Lamoureux, Simishev, and Zuber, who are like 6'6", 6'7", towering defensemen with the longest reach ever to break up plays. It adds so much uniqueness to Utah. Not a lot of teams in the NHL have one or not even three. Not three, but not even one of those types of players. He wore the C patch in 2 of the 3 games he played. He got all his 3 points in the game against Vegas. Matika scored a nice goal against LA. He showed some skill, but not as consistent as I would have liked. And honestly, I didn't expect much out of Matika, which is why he falls into the excellent category. Duda, a tall defenseman, not as tall as Lamoureux, a smooth skater, great puck mover. He hit a couple posts, but he was really noticeable in all 3 games that he played. Julian Lutz, I was going to put him, as always, I always put him in the underwhelming section. This is his 3rd rookie face-off, but he got 3 primary assists in the Vegas game. So I'm going to give him his flowers. I mean, that's really hard to do, 3 primary assists in 1 game, so I'll give him some credit. He's a second rounder from a couple years ago. And Anson Thornton with an incredible performance against San Jose. Maybe would have liked the win against Vegas, but he played 2 out of the 3 games. And then Big Reed Dick played in that second game against LA and got the win for Utah. Noticeable players, Owen Allard scored 2 goals in the tournament. Gabe Smith had a fight. Drew Elliott, an amateur tryout. He was a speedster. He was always around the puck. Leighton Moore, another amateur tryout on the defensive side. He looked all over it as well in 2 of the 3 games he played. Justin Kipke, would have liked a little bit more from Kipke, but I liked what I saw. He had a couple great chances that were denied. And Gabe Gavin, or Will Gavin, yes, it's Gabe Smith and Will Gavin. He had a goal in the tournament, and he looked pretty noticeable as well. Underwhelming, Sam Lipkin, who's touted as the first-line center for the Roadrunners. He was a bit underwhelming. He played on the second line in the first game and then was moved up to the first line in the last 2 games. Even though that line was really good, he really didn't do much. It was mostly Cole Baudouin, Matika, and then in the Vegas game, Noel Nord was on that top line. I put Nord in underwhelming. I could have put him in noticeable, but Nord and Lavoie, their 3rd-round picks, maybe expected a little bit more out of them. They were really quiet, especially Lavoie. He played all 3 games. I don't think I heard his name even once. Another underwhelming part of this, like 40% of this lineup was amateur tryouts because most of their rookies are in leagues that aren't allowed to play, or Iginla was injured. They didn't, play Zuber or Goldsmith due to whatever reasons. They also didn't bring Atu Ratu, who's a great skilled offensive guy. They didn't bring him to the tournament either. Not sure why. You're missing guys like Geeky, who got traded. Josh Stone isn't there. Gunther isn't there. Cooley's not there like last year. So they really had a lot of amateur tryouts, which diluted this team. But the fact that all 3 games are 1-goal games, I'm sure if they had Iginla playing all 3 games, it would have been maybe a win against Vegas. I could see that. Like that's a plausible reality that Utah should have won that Vegas game if they had a little bit more firepower in their lineup. But I like the way they played. well coached. The fact that these are really young players, 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're playing just a smart, simple, high effort game for 60 minutes, so aggressive on the forecheck, so consistently. They didn't lose energy at any point. Sure, they were overrun and overpowered by the Sharks. They didn't really give up. And for young players, that's pretty good. They're a good group of players that Bill Armstrong and the scouting staff have singled out and drafted. They like those type of character players who play hockey the right way and not just fancy and put on a show. So I like the direction. Obviously, I would have liked a lot more prospects to be in this tournament, but we'll see. Hopefully, Iginla in the season training camp that's starting this week, along with Zuber. Goldsmith should be there as well. But it was fun to watch, and it's hockey. It's Utah hockey, the first ever Utah NHL hockey. So hopefully, new fans, really enjoyed watching this tournament as well. If you caught the game, so that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.